What is the correlation coefficient? Well, let's talk about it. The correlation coefficient is a lot of times talked about as the variable R. It's the indicator of strength based off of the value and the direction. Is it positive or negative of the linear relationship between the independent variable X and the dependent variable Y. So we're showing the relationship between X and Y. Now, what about R? What do you know? Well, R is always between -1 and 1, inclusive. All right, so it's going to be somewhere between, forgot my equal signs, somewhere between -1 and 1. If it's close to -1, that means we have a strong negative correlation. So the closer to -1 or 1, negative or positive, means we have a stronger correlation. The closer it is to 0, the closer we are to no correlation. So if it's a -1, it's a negative correlation. +1, positive correlation. If it is close to 0, we have no linear relationship. That means we've got dots all over the place with our scatter plot. Okay? If R is -1 or equal to +1, that means we have perfect correlation, meaning the lines are right in order. How often does this happen in life? Rarely, right? Rarely do we have perfect linear correlation. Okay, so what does this look like? Well, if we're talking about positive correlation, just like you think about positive slope, the line of best fit is going to be up because the dots are going to kind of be all over. Remember, we're talking about scatter plots, and the correlation shows the line of best fit, the relationship, the strength. So the closer R is to 1, right? In this case, it's a positive correlation. The line goes up. And you can also see that the dots are fairly close, which means it would be strong. If we're talking about negative correlation, so that means that we have dots and they somewhat kind of go down. And then we would say, okay, if I'm drawing my line of best fit, goes through the middle. And you can see, just like with negative slope, the line of best fit goes downward. All right, so that'd be negative correlation. If we have no correlation, that means our dots are just all over the place, right? You're like, I don't know if that goes up, down, or whatever. They're just everywhere. So we would say this is no correlation. Now, the closer the points are to the regression line means the stronger the correlation. So if I have a coordinate plane here, and I've got, this is my line of best fit, and my dots are right here, that's some really strong correlation. Those dots are real close to my regression line. Now, if I have this regression line, and my dots are like this is going to be less. So this might have an R value of like 0.94, maybe even higher, because those are real close to the line. This might be like 0.81. Still positive, still good, still a positive correlation, but because the dots are farther from the line, we have a less strong, right? Not as strong a correlation. So that's the idea of correlation coefficient. What is how does correlation work, and the idea of R and how it works. So similarly, if I would have dots like this with a line that goes through, maybe we would say R is like, I don't know, -0.84. The lines are kind of far, or the dots are kind of far off the line, but not too bad. Okay, so that's the idea of how R relates to the correlation coefficient, or is the correlation coefficient, and how it relates in terms of the scatter plot and the line of best fit.